Hey everybody, this is a video for absolute beginners, people who have just started playing guitar or just got a guitar and want to know what to do with it, or don't even have a guitar and want to know where to start in the learning process. I know how it is to learn something new, and it's a little bit scary, and it's kind of like you've been dropped in the middle of an ocean and you don't know which way to go. Some of you don't even know how to swim or anything like that, and there's a long way to go. So we're kind of going to talk about the beginning processes of learning the guitar and just general direction to go in. Now, we're going to be talking about how to hold the guitar and how to play some notes and stuff, but what I really want you to focus on is the do's and don'ts of this video. It's really important that you focus on those. What not to do and what to do when you just start learning this whole thing of guitar playing, rather than jumping immediately into getting your hands on something. You have to know why and how before you start doing it. So focus mostly in this video on the do's and don'ts, and then later on we're going to be talking about how to hold the guitar and how to play some notes. Let's go ahead and start with the don'ts. I think don'ts are a really good place to start, because when you're told to do something, you're always wondering if you're doing it quite right. But with don'ts, it's like, well, no matter what you're doing, as long as you're not doing this, then you're good. So let's start with don't number one. Don't number one is don't worry about every little thing. This is there's a term for it, I can't remember what it is, but this is something I'm really guilty of, where I get scared because when I get into a new thing, I'm just like, oh well, I need an amp and I need a cable, and what kind of cable, do cables sound good or bad, and what kind of pick do I use, like thin, medium, or heavy, and do I need an amp, and do I start acoustic or electric, and are the pickups good enough, and all this stuff. And you're gonna have a lot of people talking to you and telling you like, oh well, you need to do this and you need to do that, but at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is that you have a guitar and you pick it up and play it. Like, nothing else really matters. So don't worry about the little stuff. If you don't want to play with a pick, that's fine. Don't play with a pick. If you can't figure out like light, medium, or heavy, then get all of them and then try them all out. Most of the stuff you're going to be told and hearing about is all a matter of preference. Like which amp is the best? Whenever you hear a question that starts off with like the best, like what is the best blank, you're going to get an opinionated answer. So all you want to do right now is just worry about what you like the sound of, what you like the feel of, what feels right to you. Also, go with the cheaper option right now. There's no need to spend a bunch of money on, nice equipment, because you can't really tell the difference between nice equipment for a while. It'll take a few years of you playing before you'll really be able to tell, oh, this is a well-built guitar, oh, this is a good sounding amp. So basically, don't worry about the little stuff. I mean, you're really focusing your energy somewhere where it doesn't need to be. The only thing you should be worried about is getting your hands on the guitar, nothing else. Screw all the other stuff. Just work with what you got, and if you need to get something, go cheap. Don't number two, don't make practice a chore. Most people, they have to sit down and go like, oh, I have to practice guitar at 6:30 and I got to practice it for 30 minutes and I got to do this. That's not how guitar playing should work. That's not how practicing and learning something new should work. You should really look forward to it, and you shouldn't have to like schedule it out and be like, oh, at 4:30 I'm going to practice these exercises, blah, blah, blah. Just kind of, play it whenever you feel like playing it. Whenever you're feeling inspired, pick it up and sit down with it, because if you're not enjoying it, then you shouldn't be doing it. That's really what it boils down to at the end of the day. You don't have to worry about getting like a full hour of really intense practice in, because honestly, that's not really good for you right now. You have to get way down the road before you practice at those intervals and that intensity. What you want to do is just kind of find yourself picking up the guitar every day. Even if you sit down for 5 or 10 minutes with it and just like, oh, I'm not feeling it, that's totally fine. As long as at every point, at one point in every day, you pick up the guitar and you sit down with it and you just do something with it. It doesn't matter. Flip like switches, turn some knobs, and like strum some notes. It doesn't matter. Some days you might want to sit down and practice for 30 minutes. Some days you don't. The important part is that you start it every day. So don't feel guilty about not practicing like 30 minutes, like I said. As long as you just pick it up and say, let's try something. Because you can't be in the mood to do it every day. So don't worry about practicing intently. Don't make practicing a chore. Make it fun. Make it something you look forward to. Don't number three. This is a really important one. This is one that I use in my everyday life for pretty much everything. Like, legitimately everything in life applies to don't number three. This is going to sound so counterintuitive to some of you, because you hear the opposite of it like every day of your life. Don't focus on your goal. This is really important as a musician, as someone trying to practice something and get better at it. If you focus on your goal, you will lose steam. My American history teacher in high school taught me a really valuable lesson regarding this. So if you imagine that you're crossing a river, and the only way to get across this long river is to step on these stones that are all covered in mildew and they're all very slippery. When you're trying to cross this river, you have to keep your eyes on your feet, because if you keep your eyes off your feet, you're going to slip and fall. If you keep your eyes on the end of the river where you're going, you're going to slip and fall. And if you keep your eyes behind you, then you're also going to slip and fall. So you have to keep your eyes on your feet and make sure that every step you're taking is a cautious step, that it's a step in the right direction and you're not going to slip and fall. I think this is a really good analogy for the learning process, because a lot of people, I find, they're just like, oh, I'm not here yet. I'm not playing like Zakk Wylde. I'm not playing like Paul Gilbert. And I'm just so frustrated that I'm not there yet. But you can't worry about that all the time if you're constantly comparing yourself to these people that have been playing for 10, 15 years, or, in their case, a lot longer. You just have to focus on what you're doing and enjoy that process and getting where you're going. The way I see it is that with our goals, with what we want to do, we shroud it with a halo, this golden light. And we go like, oh, that's going to be perfect. That's exactly what I'm going to want. But what you learn in the learning process and, going through life is that what you usually think something is, what you think that goal is going to end up being, it changes by the time you get there. It changes a lot. So take that halo that you've put around your goal of being an awesome guitar player, what you think it is to sit down and just shred and do whatever you're doing and play all the songs you want to play. Take that golden halo that you have there and apply it. Apply that regard of just like beauty and awesomeness and apply it to the learning process. Apply it to you walking across the stones, that every stone you take a step on is awesome and glorious and amazing, and it's going to get you where you want to go. Start enjoying the learning process more than you want to achieve your goal. So basically what I'm saying here is you want to find more joy and more like interest and dedication out of the learning process and put more importance on the learning process than you would put on the goal you're trying to achieve. So like I said, number 3, don't keep your eye on the goal. Keep your eye on where you're going and how you're getting there, and enjoy that process. A lot of people will say, enjoy the journey. That's going to get you a long way, because like I said earlier, by the time you get to that goal, it's something completely different than you thought it was. Number 4, don't think playing guitar is easy, because it's not. If you are here under the impression that playing the guitar is easy, either change your opinion on that or leave, because it's not easy. It's frustrating and awkward and difficult and terrible, but we're going to make it fun. Most people that say playing guitar is easy, they've either been playing for so long that they forgot how hard the learning process is, or they can just strum 3 or 4 chords and they've been doing it for 15 years, which to them is easy. The guitar is one of the most difficult instruments to learn. We have 6 strings and all these frets, and we can play the same note in 8 different places, and you got to do bar chords, and it's awkward to hold. There's a lot of awkward stuff. So again, don't think playing guitar is easy. It's difficult, and the sooner you accept that, the easier the learning process for it will become. So don't think playing guitar is easy. It's not. Number 5, don't expect huge progress in just a few hours. If you sit down for 4 hours, you might not feel like you got the benefit of those 4 hours of practice. It takes a long time for these kind of things to build up, and also practicing for long periods of time don't equate to outputting those long periods of time. We can really only do 20 or 30 minutes at a time to really see the benefit, and we need to take breaks in between. I'll be talking more about practicing later on, but this should just be a common sense thing. Like, there's no secret handbook you can read that's just going to be like, oh, if I follow these 5 steps, I'll be a master of the guitar neck in like 10 days. No, it's all really hard work. It's all a lot of practice. So this also applies to number 4, kind of. It's not easy. It takes practice, and there's no secret here. There is no secret to learning how to play the guitar. It's practice, practice, practice. Dedication and practice. So we focused enough on the don'ts of the guitar. What should you not do? Now let's talk about what you should be doing to progress as a guitar player. Do number 1. sit around with your guitar. Like, it's really simple. A lot of people think they have to do very intense exercises. At this stage of the game, being a very beginner, sitting down with your guitar, just holding it, feeling more natural with it, and just plucking around on some notes, that is just as much practice as anything else. It's a level of comfort that you're trying to attain. The only time you really feel like you're doing something right is when you're comfortable doing it. So just sitting down with your guitar is practice. You know, when you're at your computer, have your guitar in your lap. When you're watching TV, have your guitar in your lap. Even if you're not practicing with it, just have it there. It's really helpful in the long term to sit down with your guitar a lot. Do number 2. Keep your guitar close by in a place that you're around often. Like for me, I'm at my desk a lot, so I keep my guitar right beside my desk. And if you're on the couch a lot, then keep your guitar right beside the couch. Wherever you're at, just keep your guitar within arm's reach. This will help you kind of get in that habit of just holding the guitar, picking it up, and plucking around on it. Because I know how everybody is. We're at our computers, we're watching YouTube, we're doing this, that, and the other. And then sometimes we'll close a window and be like, oh, well, I don't really know what I'm going to do next. And then you'll look over and see your guitar, and then you'll pick it up and practice it. So just keep it somewhere close by. Don't make it a hindrance to get to. Do the best you can with this, because I know everybody's situation is a little bit different, but it's wherever you're at the most, which is usually a desk for me. Just keep it close by. Do number 3. Just mess around with your guitar. This kind of falls into that category of don't number 1, and don't worry about doing all this stuff. Don't worry about practicing perfectly. Don't worry about having the perfect time of day to practice and the perfect guitar to practice on. Just sit around and make noise with it. You want to start exploring what the instrument can do. You want to start exploring the feedback of what you pushing a finger down in a certain spot will make a certain sound, and when you move it around, how does it change the sound? What do the knobs do? What do the switches do? What does that whammy bar thing do? What happens when you start messing with stuff? Experiment and discover the instrument, because I can go ahead and promise you this, just messing around with the guitar, making sounds happen, you will learn so much more experimenting than you will through any teacher and any other learning process that you're going to go through. Like personal feedback, you doing an action and getting a response out of it, that's how you truly learn. So this is the most important thing. Just sit down and make noise and try to find out how to change the noise and mess with the knobs and figure out what all of that does. So do number 3 is really important. Sit down, make some noise. Don't worry about how you're doing it. Don't worry if your technique is perfect. Just make some noise and figure out how this crazy machine works. Do number 4, do some research. Figure out what all this is about. We have the internet. You're watching this video on YouTube. Do you understand how many resources there are on YouTube? You want to figure this thing out. You want to indulge yourself in the guitar world. There's so much here to learn about body styles and amps and cables and stuff like that. Stay away from opinionated topics. Stay away from topics that are like, what is the best way to, or who is the best, or anything with the word best in it is going to be an opinionated topic. Don't get into that. It sucks. You know, everybody's got a different opinion. Instead, focus on like types of guitars, parts of the guitar, different kinds of blank. So focus on learning, like, why do we have effects pedals? What are effects pedals? What does a flanger do? What does a phaser do? Like, what is compression? What are the different kinds of amps? Tube amps versus solid state amps. Research. It's so much fun getting into this stuff, and you get to, like, since we have YouTube and stuff, you get to hear these things in progress. And like, what's a Stratocaster? What's a Les Paul? What's a PRS? Well, oh, that one looks really comfortable. Let me go to my guitar store or my, Guitar Center and try it out or something like that. So always be doing research. This is a huge realm of stuff, read about history of your favorite guitar players and things like that. So number 4, do research. The long and short of it is it's a good idea to not sound like an idiot. It's very easy to sound like an idiot when you're talking about guitars. And I've known a few people that don't even play guitar that I can talk to totally naturally because they've done their research and they don't sound dumb. So don't sound dumb, do your research, and stay away from opinionated topics. Just focus on the facts. Do number 5, listen, watch, ask questions. So who inspired you to play guitar? Like Paul Wagner, Tosin Abasi, Eric Clapton, Kerry King, Slash, Chet Adkins, Brad Paisley. It doesn't matter who it was, even if it was your neighbor. Watch people play guitar. Go on YouTube. Like I said, the internet is amazing in the amount of stuff that it has, no matter what we're trying to learn. So go watch videos of them and go watch their songs and watch other people cover their songs and just, research it, but really start watching. And then if you have a question like, oh, how did this guy do that? Hopefully you have a friend who plays guitar and you can be like, what is he doing here? Like, how does he make that noise? And he's like, oh, that's just a pick slide or a hammer-on. And then you're like, wow, what are those? Let me go look up examples of those. And you start learning all of this stuff. And if you don't have a friend who plays guitar, go to Reddit. You know, Reddit is really good about this stuff. I don't know any specific subreddits, but figure it out. More learning. But yeah, always watch other people play guitar. Keep around what kept you inspired in the first place. So do number 5, do watch, listen, and ask questions. Always be watching, always keep inspired, and always enjoy what the glorious thing of playing guitar is. Do number 6. Ask yourself questions. So this doesn't really apply to number 5. This is about wondering, why are you playing guitar? What is the purpose of playing guitar? And things like that. I find that people that ask these questions more often are more likely to stick to playing. You know, when you have a sense of purpose for doing this, then you'll stick with it a little bit longer. When you look over at the guitar, you're more likely to pick it up if you have a reason, a purpose to pick it up. All of these answers are going to be different for everyone else. You might be learning it for a person, you might be learning it for yourself, but the important part is that you're always wondering and asking, why am I learning this? What's important about this? What am I trying to do with it? These don't really, sometimes you don't have answers for them immediately, and that's okay, as long as you keep the questions in your head and you keep trying to answer them. It took me about 6 years to really figure out why I was playing guitar like I was. So just keep the questions in your head, and if you can answer them immediately, that's perfect. Something that really helps me out with this is I'll write the questions down on like an index card or something, and I'll put it on my wall or my door, or, you know, on my computer desk somewhere, and if I find an answer, I'll write it down and I'll keep it on there, and then I'll check it. You know, it's a good way to just kind of keep your head together on this. So do number 6, have a sense of purpose, have this direction to go in, always wonder why, and always keep yourself asking questions, more philosophical questions of just like, what is it to play guitar? Why am I playing guitar? Am I playing guitar for the same reason today that I was playing it last week, and things like that. So now that we've talked about the do's and don'ts of guitar, let's talk about how to hold the guitar, some important parts of the guitar, and how to make some notes happen. Again, focus on the do's and don'ts on this video. That's the important part. But I'm just going to kind of lead you in the right direction when it comes to holding it, and starting off, you know, in the very beginning, how to sit down and, you know, play around with it. So this is what I would like to call standard position. You keep the guitar on your right leg, and it should balance pretty well. You don't need to have your hands on it or anything, but a lot of guitars balance differently. I like well-balanced guitars, but you can also keep your arm back here on the body of the guitar to kind of hold it down and really secure its spot. So just kind of mess around with what your right arm is doing. Your left hand doesn't do much to support the guitar. You want it all to be balanced by your right arm and on your leg. This is how you're going to see most people playing guitar when they're sitting down. They're just going to plop it on their right leg and they're going to, you know, get to it. But this isn't really the best way to hold the guitar. It's just the most standard way to hold the guitar. Once you get comfortable with it, it's totally fine. The issue is when you stand up and you're wearing a strap, the angle of the guitar changes very drastically. So I think it's personally better to sit down in a different way, which is with the guitar on your left leg. Now you can see what this does is it will change the angle of the headstock much higher. It'll lift the guitar up like that. What you're doing here is having the divot rest on your left leg and then having the guitar fall back on your right leg. So it balances very comfortably here. Your body's holding the guitar up instead of your hands. And it opens your elbow up on your left hand. So as you can tell, when I move it to my my right leg, my elbow kind of gets tucked into my side and I have to keep it there. I can't really open it up without it feeling very awkward because we have to keep our pinky kind of like that straight. So I have to tuck my elbow into my side. And then when I move it up here, it opens my elbow up entirely and I can still keep my pinky straight. And it gives me a lot more access to be able to move and things like that. Now, like I said, none of this really matters. What matters is that you're playing the guitar and that you're messing around with it. So what I say is try out both ways. This way is a lot less comfortable at first. You know, you really feel like you're having to fight against it and it's unnatural, whereas this one's going to feel a lot more comfortable, which is why people usually stick to it. So if you have trouble with it, just try both ways out. Whatever you like in the beginning first, just stick with that and go at it. So let's talk about a few different parts of the guitar. You don't have to worry about this. You don't have to worry about these right now or any of this down here. What I want to talk about are the things that matter. The first thing is the strings. We have 6 of them, and they're all different thicknesses and stuff, and they have names, but that doesn't really matter right now because I just want you to get your hands on the guitar. The next thing we have is the neck, which is this thing right here. This is where all the action happens. The neck has these little metal bars inside of it, as you can tell, and these are called frets. All of these little metal bars are frets. And how you make a note happen, so we're going to stick to this string down here. How you make a note happen is you put a finger, in this case we'll use our first finger, on one of these frets. And what we're going to do is slide right behind it. So you don't want to be on top of the fret, you want to be right behind it. You don't want to be back here, because it buzzes. You want to be right behind the fret, and then you use one of these. Or you don't have to, it doesn't matter. This is a pick. Here's how you hold the pick. You point it away from your thumb, like that, and then you just kind of hold it lightly, like this. Bing, whatever, doesn't matter. So then you pluck the string. This is going to be very awkward at first. All of this is very awkward. So you just pluck the string. If you don't have a pick, use your thumb, use your first finger. I don't care. Do whatever you want, as long as you're making some sound. And we've got our first finger down here on a fret. It doesn't matter which one. Try this finger. Try your second finger and put it on. I'm going to reiterate that. So put it on the 5th fret. Screw it. Put it anywhere. And make sure you're right behind the fret, that you're not on top of it, that you're not way back here. Just right behind that line. And then pluck it. Don't worry about what your left hand is doing right now. You can have your thumb out. You can have your thumb on the back of the neck. Whatever, as long as you're making notes happen. Do it with your 3rd finger and your 4th finger. Move it up, slide it around, pluck it a lot. Put a bunch of fingers down and do that. Oh, that sounds pretty rad. Neat! Alright, so hit notes, different strings. Try the B string, the high E string, that last string. Do this. Slap it. Tap stuff. Turn knobs. Do all this crazy stuff. The important part is that you're playing around on it. You know what to do. Put your finger down right behind the metal bar. Pluck it down here. However you need to pluck it. It doesn't matter. Do something. Just sit down, play with it, whatever. Do this. This is a lot of fun to do. Just tap stuff. Slide. Scrape. Make noise. Step number 1. Just play the guitar. Hold it like this. Hold it like that. Hold it like this. I don't care. As long as you're doing something. Playing the guitar is very awkward. However you're going to be holding the guitar, whatever you're going to be doing, it feels very unnatural. It's going to feel very, very unnatural, and you're not really going to be comfortable with anything you're doing for a long, long time. What you have to do is power through it. Everybody has to go through this. The more you do it, the more comfortable you become. Keep your eyes on the learning process. Keep your eyes on the journey, not on the goal. So, I know it feels awkward. Just keep doing it. The whole purpose of doing this is to make it feel less awkward. You should be able to play some notes, whatever. It doesn't matter. Just screw around on the guitar. Another thing is, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Making mistakes is a really, really important part of the learning process. When you make a mistake, don't see it as a negative thing, see it as a positive thing. If you think about it, professionals are just people who are really good at knowing what not to do. And the only way to know what not to do is to make that mistake. So when you make a mistake, consciously go, oh, I made a mistake. Let's fix it so that it doesn't really happen again. And if it does happen again, then do the same thing and just keep doing that. Mistakes are to be cherished, not to be avoided. So don't shroud this in negativity, because you're not going to sound good for a while. You're not going to be comfortable for a while. When you make a mistake, just laugh about it. You know, like it's not something to be scared of. Don't make practicing something to be scared of. Make it something to look forward to. And remember, every time you make a mistake, you're just one step closer to reaching your goals, to making it to where you're not making mistakes. So don't be afraid of mistakes, and don't, shroud them in negativity. Every time you make a mistake, cherish it, enjoy it. Mistakes are what make people good at stuff. So yeah, that's almost like don't number one. Just don't get caught up in like, am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? As long as you're doing something, as long as you're doing it, then you're good. You're going in the right direction. So next time we're going to be getting our hands a little bit more on the guitar, and we're going to talk about practicing, how to practice and why we practice and what are the best times to practice and all of this stuff. But the end of this lesson, I want you guys to take away one thing, and that is just pick the thing up. Just pick your freaking guitar up and make some noise on it. It doesn't matter. Don't get caught up in all this nonsense. Just pick it up and play it. That's it. Make some noise on it. Figure out how it works. So really explore the instrument. I said earlier that exploring the instrument, you're going to learn so much more than anybody telling you how to do anything. You'll be able to figure it out if you just mess around with it. Always mess around with the instrument. The first year is really important that you do this to come to your own terms to discover how it works. So again, that's what I want you to take away. If you're just a beginner, you've just picked up the guitar, pick it up and make some sound on it. Don't worry about anything else right now. Later on, we'll be talking about some exercises and things like that, but just pick it up, make some noise. You might even be able to figure out a song or two if you're that adept to it. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'm excited to do the next one. I'd like some feedback. If you guys have any questions or want me to hit on any specific topics, just let me know, and I will include that in the second video. And I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching.